What's up everyone, I'm Twisted. It's been a week since Season 2 started. We've taken a look at Vayne's new motion comic and we even talked about her lore update. So I think now it's a good time to go over everything we know so far about the story of this season and try to figure out where it could be headed. Season 2 will be a shorter season, lasting only 6 patches to make more room for Season 3, which as we discussed will likely not be based on the canon world of Runeterra. The main setting of this season are the Wyldwoods of Demacia. These were mentioned last season, the corrupted Petricide skins describe the surge of magic taking place here, though right now this doesn't seem super relevant to the lore of this season. In Garant's comic we saw the upcoming champion Locke gathering information about the Wyldwoods from a bartender, the latter saying that no one ever comes back from these woods, at least not unchanged. Almost the same description the character Nilah gives to young Vayne in her comic. The comic shows us how these woods are teeming with demons and dark magics, and this was true even a decade ago. So again, this new surge of magic doesn't seem super relevant. We know Vayne's story will be the main focus of Season 2, and we already started seeing that with a new canon legendary skin and a new motion comic. This depicted Vayne venturing onto the Wyldwoods looking for Nilah, a family friend who sent her a letter asking for help to deal with a demon. In it he also promised to reveal some kind of truth to Vayne. She finds him and he reveals something about Vayne's parents, which we'll discuss later, causing Vayne to snap and kill him. The demon, which was possessing Nilah, takes advantage of her emotional state and binds itself to her. This leads to the version of herself we see on her new skin, one filled with bloodlust and paranoia, seeing demons everywhere. The comic ends with a teaser for more lore to come, as Locke approaches Vayne. Okay, let's now talk about the biggest mystery of this season so far, Vayne's parents. Let's go back to Vayne's childhood. From her bio, we know she spent a couple summers learning archery in Nilah's backyard. In the comic, we see that this takes place on the outskirts of the Wyldwoods, and Nilah is very serious about not letting the kids get near it without explaining to them why. As we later learn, it's because of the demons and dark magics present. Nilah says that Vayne's parents came here for a reason, which we'll get to in a second. At some point after this, her parents are killed by Evelynn, setting her on a path to become a demon hunter. Despite her bio being updated, all of her backstory remains pretty much the same, including an interesting part we'll get to later. In the letter Nilah sends to Vayne, he mentions how she doesn't trust him, how he and her parents failed her, how he can't change the past and deserves his fate, and how she deserves to know the truth. After finding him, she's able to ask him about the truth, but the answer he gives is very vague. He mentions some healings, in quotation marks, that her parents came to receive, these being whatever they were doing when visiting his house. These healings, he mentions, don't mean anything to us, at least not yet. But the implication seems to be that this was just a lie, an excuse they gave Vayne, when in reality they were there for other reasons. Whatever it may be, Vayne was able to put 2 and 2 together. She understood what he meant. He then says they meddle with power they did not fully understand, before the demon takes over saying they were more depraved than the demon who killed them. This is obviously a major teaser for what's to come, but I want to point out that the second line is the demon taunting Vayne, telling her what she does not want to hear. So we should take it with a grain of salt. Her parents were probably not as bad as Evelynn, this is just what Vayne fears. So what could this mystery about Vayne's parents be? I think the most straightforward and also less fun answer is that they were simply monster hunters and Vayne followed in their footsteps without even knowing. This could explain why Nilah was training her so young. This training comes back when she's fighting a possessed Nilah. He taunts her saying, "Our training amounted to this pathetic display." Her bio doesn't mention Niles training her after her parents' death, so I don't think this line here is referring to anything else but a few summers she spent with him. Since he mentions this training when she's fighting a demon, maybe the training was for her to fight demons, even if she didn't know at the time. It's also possible for Niles to have trained Vayne after her story with Frey, since that's where her bio ends. But I don't think Vayne needed much training at this point, so I don't think this is likely. Worth noting that she uses red glasses similar to Nilah's and Locke's, and wears a black and red outfit just like the one we see Nilah's wearing. This could imply that their relationship didn't end after her parents' death, unless these were actually inherited from her parents. Taking all of this into account, her parents being demon hunters is possible, but this answer isn't really satisfying, it's a bit too obvious. Another possibility was them using dark magic in some way. We never learned why Vayne doesn't trust Nilah, nor why he feels like he and her parents failed her. It could be something that happened that we don't know, but it could also be related to the truth he tells Vayne. She does call him a scheming filth when under the demon's influence, and again, she could be referring to something that happened in the past, perhaps whatever made her stop trusting him, or she's referring to her coming here here and finding out about the truth, or actually to both. What if at some point after her parents' death, Vayne found out that Niles was using dark magic in some way, causing her to lose her trust in him. Then, in the comic, he tells her that the illings her parents came to receive from him, were not what she thought they were, implying her parents were also using or benefiting from dark magic in some way. This alone would be enough to cause Vayne to react like that, and this can work with what Niles says after about them meddling with powers they didn't fully understand. For now, we can't possibly know for sure what this was about, so your guess is as good as mine. Demons, Black Rose, or just trying to become more powerful, who knows. Whatever it may be, Niles knew about it and was somehow involved, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Wyldwoods were also important here, as they seem to be a major focus of the season. With this being said, I do have a fun theory about her parents. In Vayne's bio, even after its update, she finds out about a cult that worships Evelynn, doing her bidding and offering her sacrifices. So what if Vayne's parents were actually part of this cult? That would certainly be a major reveal that could lead to an interesting arc for Vayne's character, having to come to terms with the fact that her parents actually worshipped the demon that killed them. This would recontextualize Vayne's whole life, since avenging her parents was the reason she became a monster hunter. Now, do I have any evidence for this? No, not really. It's just a theory, so take it with a huge grain of salt. We've talked about Vayne and we've discussed the mystery surrounding her parents, but there's a big piece of this puzzle we have not touched yet. Locke. What's his deal? Why is he also in the Wyldwoods? What could his role be in all of this? Once again, going back to Niles' letter, I find it curious that Niles says, "I, your parents, all of us, we failed you." Could there be more people who failed Vayne? For example, Locke? I have a feeling that Locke knew the truth, at least to some extent, even when they were still kids. At the end of the comic, Vayne seems happy to see Locke show up, as if she's ready to settle some kind of score. This voice line from her new skin also gives off the same vibe. There's also this line where she yells that she trusted him, and this one where she mentions the truth, asking if he was ever going to tell her. So regardless if Locke knew about it or not, Vayne believes he did. Personally, I do think so as well. I think he always knew. If we go back to when they were kids, we can see that Locke has his hands and arms covered, while in the last panel, his arms are bare, exposing a bunch of tattoos. As we'll see, these are likely tied to his powers. It wouldn't surprise me if he already had them when he was younger and was simply keeping them hidden. If so, it's possible Niles had them as well, as we never saw his arms exposed. Taking a closer look at the tattoos, we can spot these blue diamonds on them. We can also spot them in Niles' letter in this crest here. The way Niles speaks to Locke makes me believe he's his father, making this likely their family crest. If we look at Locke's nails from above, they do also have this diamond shape, but that could be a stretch. Though this crest does vaguely resemble a nail, doesn't it? And Niles' name could be a pun on the word nails, driving the connection further. We can also spot more diamonds on Locke when he was younger, which also point toward this being a symbol of their family. Though I should say that it's also possible that this is tied to some kind of order that Niles belongs to. There are also other crests in Niles and Vayne's jackets, but these seem a bit inconsistent in their designs. Regardless if these are related to Locke's family or to some kind of order, we only see Vayne having them after her parents died. So again, it's possible that Vayne got this jacket from Niles or from her parents. If Niles was a monster hunter, then it would be odd for him to call Vayne for help, no? But Niles' house did have a ward against demons, so that possibility is not out of the table yet, I suppose. But I feel like there's more to it. Maybe what if instead of hunters, they were some kind of exorcists? That could explain the illings in quotation marks. Perhaps Niles was trying to help Vayne's parents to get rid of a demon, one they might have brought onto themselves, explaining the part about them meddling with powers they didn't fully understand. Though the same could also be said if they were all using dark magic in some way. I'm pretty sure all of them will end up being connected to demons and dark magic in some way, I just don't know how yet. But what about Locke? Well, we don't know much about him, besides him likely being related to Niles. He was a childhood friend of Vayne, and a decade after the death of her parents, they meet again in the Wyldwoods. When the demon alters Vayne's vision, she sees Locke with his light blue colors. This is also the color we see on his tattoos, and it's not too far from the color around his nail that we see on his teaser. Locke is likely wielding magic in some way, either by being a mage or by having magical artifacts. Perhaps the thing on his back, for example. I think him using nails might also be a clue to what his powers are. In Japan, hammering nails into a tree is a way of cursing someone. We see this with the character Nobara from Jujutsu Kaisen, an anime which seems to have been one of the many inspirations behind the aesthetic of this season. It's possible that, like the characters in JJK, Locke is able to channel demonic powers in some way. Maybe he's able to bind them using his nails and his object, and then use their powers. His blue colors in Vayne's POV match the colors of herself in the reflection beneath her. Since Vayne is currently bound to a demon here, this could be hinting that Locke is also using demon powers. Or maybe it's the opposite and he simply has some kind of power that is effective against demons, flipping the idea of nails being used to curse to being used to protect and ward instead, which goes back to the theory of his family being exorcists. In terms of his role in the story, we don't know what happened to him in the decade between the death of Vayne's parents and the present, and we also don't know why he's in the Wyldwoods, nor what he will do after seeing Vayne kill Niles. Could this lead to a fight, or could this all have been part of his plan? Maybe Niles was long gone, simply a husk for the demon, and it was Locke the one who wrote the letter, left the necklace on his house, and created the footprints to lure Vayne. But if so, why did he do that? Maybe Niles simply sent letters to both Vayne and Locke. Maybe there was also a truth Locke deserved to know before Niles passed away. Who knows? Either way, I doubt Vayne will stay bound to a demon forever. She will get rid of it somehow eventually, and Locke will for sure play a role in that. I'm curious to see how different he will be from the other demon hunters and users of demonic magic already in League. I'm also curious to know what the theme of this season will end up being. Outside of demons and dark magic, there also seems to be a focus on family, Vayne with her parents and Locke with Niles. We know at least another comic is coming about Vayne, but we don't know how many this season will have overall. With the season being shorter, I'm not expecting more than 2, to be honest, maybe 3 max. Since this comic ends with Locke showing up, and he's only coming to League in Act 2 of this season, we might only see this story move forward next month. Which sucks. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on this season so far? Where do you think the story is going? What are your theories? Let me know down below. And consider subscribing if you haven't already. It's free and you can always change your mind later. I'm Twisted and I'll see you guys in the next video.